Hello class, my name is Juan Johnson and this is a series of videos called Creating C Programs Using Visual C++ Express. C language is a very popular program in engineering, one of the most popular, and Visual C++ Express is the program that I'm using to create my C programs. A very easy program to use for teaching and learning the C++ language. As you can see here, I have a list of topics that I will cover through this series of videos, starting off with program design. Let's get started. Program design starts off with a problem statement. For example, this problem mentions to write a program that will calculate the square root of a number entered by the user. The results will be displayed on the console. This is the assumption that I'm making, that you have a computer and one of the devices connected to the computer is a keyboard, and another device that's connected to this computer is a monitor. And of course you have a CPU, which these two devices are connected to. Now, the user has an opportunity to type in some information. Your program will process that information and then send commands to the console or the screen to display the results. These are the basic assumptions I'm making. So your program will be responsible for doing something. Now, in designing a program, we must answer three questions. We must determine from the problem statement what are the inputs, which means what are we going to receive and where are we going to receive it from. Step 2, process. What type of computations are we going to have to make on this information that we receive? And lastly, 3, where, what are we going to create with that information and to where do we send it? If we look at the problem statement, I've highlighted in color the 3 major steps. In orange color, I looked at the inputs and the outputs, the location. In green color, the actual value of the input and output, what type. And in red color, I've indicated what process that our program must complete. So I put that in the proper location, and now I have a clear picture of the solution of my problem statement. I'm going to be receiving a number. It's going to be entered by the user, which means it will come from the keyboard. My program will calculate the square root of that number. Then it will take the results of that calculation, which also will be a number, and display it and send it on the console. Now, the final step in my solution is coming up with a flowchart on the steps, because we're using a procedural language, which means things happen one step at a time. And flowcharts are very useful for illustrating the major steps in this process. The first step is generally we want to start the program and we want to be sure that all of our inputs and outputs are initialized. Then generally we write some kind of welcome message letting the programmer or the user know what program will be running. Then the next step the program will do is ask the user, what are we going to enter? Ask the user for the information. And then next, we will use a command to read the keyboard or scan the keyboard to see if any information was typed. Once that information is scanned in, we save it in one of our variables. This basically happens very quickly as a step, a major step in the program. We call it the prompt scan. After that, we must process. We just do some kind of calculation. In this example here, we're going to be taking the square root of the number that was entered. Then finally, we will display that result on the console. And usually we display it in the form of a message integrated with the number itself. And since that's the last thing that the problem statement asks for, we can end our program. So this is a general outline as to what our program will do. Initialize anything, welcome message for the user, ask the user for the data, scan the data, save the data, take the square root of the data and save it, and then display that result on the console. I would like to do something here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it down a bit. The reason why is because I want you to be clear of all the steps that are involved in the program. And I want you to be clear that after the user or after the program does the calculation, it does have to be saved. So I'm going to add an extra step here called save it. And then I will display the results on the console. The next video will attempt to write this program in the C language. Thank you.